Hey everyone, I want to share with you how WinWheel has gone from an idea to an app with 50 real users that I'm so grateful for. If you haven't already checked it out, sign up today. WinWheel is a web app for now. I'm working on the mobile app, but it allows you to track your wins, visualize your growth, and then inspire the community or maybe just yourself. It's honestly a long story, but I want to take the time to document it while I can still remember, because I'm sure in 20 years from now, I'll want to look back and remember why I started this app and where the idea came from and how I built the app. Because I'm sure it's going to look a lot different in 20 years with how fast the tech industry is moving every single day. So if you're still here watching, I'm going to break down the origin story from my soul searching to an article that got thrown into Discord, weekly emails, community friction, to me building this app as any software developer does when they have a problem. So I'll walk through the ideation process, the creative process, and then the building process. And then a little bit of where we're heading. Believe it or not, it started with an article that was thrown into the Discord on how you should sit down for 15 minutes and send your manager a weekly digest of everything that you did, the problems that you ran into, and how you overcame those challenges. And I thought, wouldn't it be fun if we did that within our little friend group or whoever wants to join? Because I feel like I'm living in this bubble being in the fintech industry that it's moving really fast out there in like the other landscapes in tech, and not just in tech but every industry. I love learning what other people are up to. So I was like, why don't we start a weekly email thing? The weekly email thing turned into a Google Groups that I created, and 11 people decided that they wanted to be a part of it. And then we got to sharing our wins every single week for 3 months. Eventually, people started to fall off. And the biggest friction was that it was all in email, and no one wanted to check their email, or they get like 100 emails a week or a day. And so things just got buried, and it was really hard to find, really hard to use. Not a good user experience, right? I threw in the Discord a survey. Hey, do we want to continue with the emails because we're kind of losing people, or do we want to move to Discord where everyone already is? And 80%, I think maybe 90% actually were like, let's move to Discord. I think only me and one other person was like, let's stay in the email. But so we're doing the Discord thing, right? And a couple weeks later, I think everyone kind of fell off again, especially myself. I had friction myself with the lack of privacy settings on Discord and the act of having to get on Discord. I found friction with how long it was taking me to write out these weekly wins. I started to write in my Apple Notes app actually when the wins happened as they were happening, so that I wasn't spending over an hour later on in the week trying to think back and reflect and remember. It just took so much time to do that. What usually comes after a lot of friction is you just stop doing the thing. This is outlined clearly in Atomic Habits that I'm reading right now. But I stopped posting, and I noticed that my energy also started to shift. I wasn't taking time to acknowledge myself or the things that I was doing. So when people would ask me like, what have you been up to? I literally could not think of anything. And it's so crazy because like it's been a great year for me. But because I wasn't taking the time to reinforce that into my mind, my brain, something that I've always struggled with is acknowledging myself for the things that I do. I started to write in my notes again, but I was just missing that community aspect of it. You know, when you're in a room and other people are winning and it just makes you want to win too, that's your environment. Your environment is so important. And I felt like I was missing that community aspect. And so, as any sane software developer does, is when there's a problem, they build a solution. So that's where WinWheel came from. I didn't want to just build a weekly recap. I wanted to combine it with the Wheel of Life. I thought that would be way more fun because you can now track your wins, categorize it, and then visualize you achieving one step closer to that category in life and literally visualize your growth. Because I think it's really important to be aligned in life, not just heavily focused on your career and the finances and be neglecting your community or your personal health and fitness or your personal growth in life. I think it's important to be aligned in all areas of life, but some seasons deserve different priorities. So it's also a way to not feel guilty when we are focused on certain areas over the others, but we can take a step back and see that our whole wheel is full. And that's kind of how I've been living. It's been very satisfying. Usually, when I would go on travel, I would feel really guilty because I'm not working and making money. And what a sad way to live. As I said, I started using the Wheel of Life when I was doing my soul searching. And ever since then, I have felt so happy and confident and aligned in life that I want others to feel this way too. So initially, I built this app for myself and hoping that others would use it to share their wins. But also now I hope that it can help everyone track their wins and visualize their own growth as well. And then, because I'm super extra, I added the wins wrapped because I love Spotify wrapped. At the end of the year, you get a recap of your favorite songs, artists, how many songs you listen to, what genres you listen to. So I thought, how fun would that be if we did that with our own life? Like we could see that October, I really grew in my career. And then in July, I went on a lot of vacations. Like you can work hard and play hard at the same time. Literally work hard, play hard. If you're building anything, you want to get the data model right before you start. So I used AI to help me think through it. And then I also needed to visualize what I was going to build, and Excalidraw is great for that. I believe that I'm creative, but I don't have the design skills that reflect that creative vision inside of my head. So getting it out is really hard for me. I always start with a lo-fi wireframe because lo-fi wireframes are literally just rectangles and circles and text, and that's it. It doesn't have to be perfect. But once you get an idea of the layout of how the page should look or what information you want to put on the screen, that's where you start, or that's where I start. I spent a lot of time on this. It definitely wasn't a build it in 24 hours kind of thing. I am someone who obsesses over my work. It has to be perfect, especially because I'm going to be using it. And I think that's important to put out the best quality that you possibly can, and you should be obsessed over the details. The point I'm trying to make is I was obsessed with building something that I would love, something that I'd feel happy sharing with others, and even if no one else uses it, I'm going to use it. So I want to build something that I genuinely love. Here is the build process. I started with a low fidelity wireframe in Excalidraw. Then, using the prompting skills I learned from the amazing AI engineering book, I one shot this in Bolt. It did a great job. I'm not even gonna lie. The functionality was great. I connected to Supabase. It was all working. But the UI was very basic. And to be fair, I gave it a very basic wireframe, right? Then I took a step back and I was like, what do I want to feel when I open this app? What emotions do I want it to trigger? And I sat there and thought about it. For me, it was calmness, peace, excitement. Went to awards.com. I've used Behance and Dribble in the past, but I like awards because they're actual websites that people vote on for the best design. And you find some really cool stuff on there. And picked out a couple based on my criteria. Does it match the emotion that I want to feel? Is it something that stands out? Is there a cool graphic or unique typography? And I've gotten asked this before, how do you train for a good design? I was very flattered by this question, but I also feel like design is art, and art is very subjective. What may look good to you might not look good to me, and vice versa. I think the better question is, what does good design look like to you? To me, it is simple, it is easy, it is readable, and it invokes the human emotion that you're intending. Now, good user experience is a little less subjective. It has more of a formal process, in my opinion. It makes sense that if I were to swipe my phone left, the screen would also move left. But if I swipe my finger left and the screen moves up, then that's not a good user experience, right? And that's kind of how I think about it in the simplest term. But if you ask people light mode or dark mode, you will get a million different answers. Why? Because design is subjective. So for the color palette, I sent them over to my friend Serene, who has generously agreed to be my first beta user. We were able to brainstorm together what direction made the most sense based on what I was trying to achieve because I had a vision, right? And with the vision, you have clarity. It just takes a couple questions to get there. For the typography, I asked AI, based on the traits that I'm looking for, what direction should I move towards? And instead of giving me a million fonts I wasn't going to like, it gave me a direction, which was sans serif. And from there, I went on Pinterest looking up sans serif fonts. Now, for the really fun part, I plugged everything into Tailwind config, prompted AI, please update the design based on the design system. Voila. From here, it's been all about building the features that people want to see. And this is the coolest part to me is everyone is so unique and has their own experiences, really cool ideas, and combining the ideas from different people. We're like co-creating this app together. As for the ideation process, it all comes from me saying it would be so nice if I could have this feature. And I don't have to wish because I'm building it so I can have it. I've downloaded a lot of apps in my life. I'm genuinely a very curious person. So if there's something that piques my interest, I will download it. If there's something I like about it, then I'll write it down. If I love it, I'll use it. And everything that I love, I'm incorporating into WinWheel. Honestly, sharing about this early, as much of a former perfectionist that I was, the app is nowhere near where I want it to be. It's just getting started. It's been an incredible process to have real users who give very valuable feedback and have even come up with features that I haven't even thought about. I just love this whole process and it's been really fun. So that is the story of how WinWheel went from an idea to an app with real users. And next will be a mobile app with widgets, which I'm so excited for. And I will be documenting everything, but moving to short form video of like a daily documentary series. And my goal is a little ambitious, but I'd love to launch this in the App Store by my birthday, December 16th. Know this was a long one, but if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. This project means the world to me, not just because I built it, but because it's actually helped transform my life, transform the way that I look at things, how I approach myself, treat myself with more kindness, acknowledgement, recognition, and just show up as a more powerful version, more confident version of myself every day. If there was an idea that you didn't know where to start before, I hope that this video helps you. And if there's anything that you have questions on, reach out to me on any of my socials. I would love to help. Lastly, if you want to follow along, then click the subscribe button and I will be posting daily videos from here on. And if you haven't tried WinWheel yet, please give it a try. Drop in the comments feature that you would love to see, or if there's any kind of feedback at all, it's all welcome. All right, that's it. It's time to go build something that we love.